number of members of the president's own party do not support the government shutdown. The NPR Ipsos poll finds that 3/4 of respondents think the shutdown is, quote, embarrassing for the country, and 70% think it will hurt the United States and the economy. To discuss all this, let's bring in Republican strategist Kenneth Vecchio and columnist Alice Hennigan. He's also the author of the book Trumpitude, The Secret Confessions of Donald Trump's Brain. Who's going to start here? Ken, Alice, who wants the first question?
Whatever. Go ahead. I'll take the crack at it.
Ken, first to you. The president has been insisting that the government, these 8 agencies, which have nothing to do with the border, must remain shut down, cannot get a government funding bill unless he gets money for his wall. Isn't the president and his wall responsible for this government shutdown?
No, Congress is responsible for it because Congress is unwilling to move. The president wants to negotiate a deal, and there are one of many different ways to get to that end. And Congress is the one holding up. I'll tell you this, though. I like the fact that there's a shutdown because hopefully that will teach us something, that we should start privatizing all of these government entities that are now closed for business. It'll be run much better. It'll be cheaper. The government can't run anything well. You know, maybe minus the Coast Guard that was mentioned earlier. Everything else, privatize it. So it's a good idea that we're shut down, and I think Trump will bring in good private business to take over for them.
Including TSA?
Food supply,
food safety, air quality.
Yes,
privatizing air quality. About
absolutely.
That.
David, we don't live in a monarchy, right? Our founding fathers in the Constitution enshrine a 3-branch government, right? And so the president here is he has an idea, he wants a wall, and he has failed to convince Congress to support this wall, failed to convince the American people to support this wall. And so as a result, he's holding 800,000 federal workers, untold contractors, and all the rest of us hostage. This is not the way an adult governs.
Following this philosophy,
yes.
I would say
the Constitution.
Okay. The American people chose President Trump. A wall on the Mexico border was one of his key campaign promises. Hence, they expect him to build a wall.
The president proposes, Congress disposes, and the president has failed to convince the representatives of the American people that this is a good idea, just as Ken has failed to do that.
Why isn't it that the Congress hasn't proposed anything to the president in response to negotiate a fair deal?
Because open the government.
One of the things that bothers me most in government, and I have a lengthy list of about 1 million things, but one of them bothers me the most is when we declare war without Congress's approval, because that's what every war has been. So while I'm completely opposed to that, I think Congress must declare war. I think it's a great idea for President Trump to say, see you guys, and go fund it with an executive order. I believe that this is akin to a national emergency to have that wall built because there's too much crime coming into our country, and more so, our economy is being destroyed by illegal immigration.
We may get that court battle over the national emergency, but again, the president has... The U.S. House has passed legislation that would fund 8 government agencies that are closed for a year and fund the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees the border and a possible wall, for a month. The president doesn't accept that, and as a result, the Republican Senate won't even vote on it. But why not? I mean, it would be like, suppose there's a Democratic president next time, and they say, you know what? Even though it's the Department of, Health and Human Services that would oversee health insurance, because we have a health insurance emergency, I'm going to shut down the government.
I'll tell you why. Because this is all abstract and in the intangible and in all the unrealism. None of this is going to get shut down, like Homeland Security. Nothing that is truly important to us functioning as Americans is going to be shut down and unfunded by any of these types of shutdowns that happened before and all these other presidents and are happening during Trump. In other words, it's a scare tactic. I'm saying privatize all these other things, not Homeland Security. Homeland Security isn't going to get shut down. Our country's not going to fall apart by this shutdown, and everything is going to run smoothly. Like, I don't even know that it's going on and that it's existing, and I don't hear anybody who I'm talking to in all my anecdotal scenarios in my life who feels this government shutdown. So I think this is all a bunch of nonsense. Let's build the wall. Let's build the wall.
But if you're a small business owner, we had one on yesterday, who smokes fish in Maine, and she was relying on the government to provide a license so she could do it. Her 5 employees, they have no work right now because they can't get their business.
Should we go through the list of things that we depend on our government to do? I mean, how about keeping our food supply safe? Don't you want those USDA inspectors to be out there.
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked, 'cause the
Making sure that
answer-
the food that we eat isn't poison. What about those airplanes in the sky? Don't we want to make sure they don't crash into each other? How about, should I go down? Should I continue
My
the
answer
list?
is no, because I would eliminate every alphabet soup agency, the FDA, the FAA, the
you failed
FTC.
to convince anybody that that's not the
No, I
dumbest
haven't failed.
idea
I
on
haven't
earth.
failed. I haven't failed to convince
Get it through
anybody.
Congress.
I've got millions and millions of
Get it through
Americans who agree
Congress.
with me
Get it
that
through
we should get rid of
Congress.
every one of these alphabet soup agencies because they're
That may
all
be a good
duplicated
idea,
on the
but
state level.
isn't there a constitutional process that we should
Yes.
follow to do it?
Yes.
Let's go back to the
We have
border for a
executive
second.
orders that are
Yeah.
allowed.
Is there a crisis at the border?
Well, there's a humanitarian crisis because we're torturing these families that are coming up. In fact, illegal crossings are at a 45-year low, right? The people who are showing up are largely presenting themselves for asylum, which is a perfectly legal and appropriate process that is at the very foundation of what we are as a people here in America. The crisis at the border, to the extent that there is one, has been created by the man who has shut the government down.
Sounds like a great talking point, but one
truth.
sentence, Ellis's figures are debatable.
There's no debate. It's 400,000 who tried to cross last year. Now, that was up slightly from the year before, but it was 1.6 million who tried to cross in the year 2000 under, I guess it was the final year of the Clinton.
Unfortunately, I'm not as entrusting in these statistics as some of my colleagues are. It's clear to me that our economy is in ruins partially because of illegal immigration.
Our economy's in ruins.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. I said partially. While we have like great unemployment figures right now due to Donald Trump, and while we have great boosted economy in numerous areas, many jobs are now still partially taken by illegal immigrants. And all of our funding that goes into their health care, their education, that money can be put into Americans' pockets. So that keeps us partially in ruin in our economy.
These are all fine arguments, and you should just keep making them, and the president can keep making them. But that's not our system, right? We pass laws in Congress. The president can have a lot of suggestions, which this president has many suggestions. But in order for these things to happen, Congress has to pass this legislation. Let's open the government. Let's go have this endless debate about this crazy wall and all these agencies you want to cancel. But let's get these people back to work. Let the country run in a smooth way. And then we can have these whack job discussions about building a wall out in the desert.
He says Nancy doesn't want to talk about the wall.
Well, let's open the government, and then and if president can convince Congress that this wall is a good idea, which he has failed and couldn't do it in a Republican Congress. You notice that 2 years those guys didn't pass any wall. You know what? That's the way our system works. Sometimes, Mr. President, you don't get what you want.
Well, you're making a factual argument that I agree with, that it hasn't been able to be passed through Congress, and that's because there's too many mainstream milquetoast Republicans mixed in with the real Republicans and conservatives and libertarians who would like to see a wall put on the border there.
Well, I'm hopeful that they will take Ken's suggestion and declare a national emergency and let the courts kick this around, and then at least the government can be reopened while the president deals with the political tsunami that he would create and whatever legal problems that he might create as well. Ken Vecchio, Alice Hennigan, terrific debate as always. Great to have you on. Thank you. When we come back, look out below. We will show you the dramatic footage of an avalanche. Look at that. It was caught on tape, and you won't believe what it did to a Swiss village.
And we have some more